Iowa Republican Congressman Steve King speaking out as his House colleagues rebuke him over racist remarks he made in an interview with the New York Times. The House voted a short time ago to approve a resolution that condemned King's remarks and rejected white nationalism and white supremacy. Last night, House Republicans moved to strip King of his committee assignments for this Congress. King, who has a long and very well-established history of being a racist, stirred controversy late last week when he gave an interview to the New York Times. The Times quoted King as saying, quote, white nationalist, white supremacist, Western civilization. How did that language become offensive? Why did I sit in classes teaching me about the merits of our history and our civilization? MSNBC's Garrett Haake joins me now from Capitol Hill. Garrett, I just got to ask, where did everybody find religion all of a sudden? This is the same Steve King I've been reporting on for years, who wears racism more comfortably than most people I've ever seen in Congress.
Yeah, that's a question that we've been trying to ask lawmakers up here for the last couple days and getting, I have to say, fairly unsatisfactory answers. That this comment seems to have been such a clean, clear, obvious example of the kind of language that King has used either in interviews or off campus, if you will, over the last couple of years. It was as if lawmakers had no choice but to act. And even his attempted explanations for the language were fairly wanting. Here's what he said on the House floor a short time ago.
I understand how you interpreted my words when you read them this way. There is no tape for this interview that I did. It was 56 minutes long. There are some notes on the other end, but there is no tape. There's no way to go back and listen. But I can tell you this, that ideology never shows up in my head. I don't know how it could possibly come out of my mouth.
Now, the punishment for King may be somewhat wanting, too. You mentioned last night Republican leaders took the step unilaterally of stripping him of all of his committee assignments. That's essentially the strongest step they can take just as the Republican Party. The full House just voted on this reprimand, but it's based on a condemnation of white nationalism broadly, not Steve King specifically. In fact, even Steve King voted for it.
I could hear it in the voice of the gentleman from Georgia.
Steve King voted for this condemnation of white supremacy?
Yep, that's exactly right, Allie. There are some voices in the Democratic Party in particular, and frankly some in the Republican Party, who wanted to see stronger steps taken, maybe a censure, which is the strongest step short of expulsion that the full House could do. So far, no movement on that front, although a couple of those resolutions were introduced yesterday. This today was a relatively tame condemnation of white supremacy,
right.
White nationalism as an issue, which no member of Congress is going to vote against, at least not if they want to keep their job.
Well, I would hope so. All right.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.